Brother Chris Lahr's been doing all kinds of peacemaking stuff. We're going to hear more from him tomorrow, but he's going to get, and he's also got another peacemaker that he works with, Naima, that's with us. But give it up. You don't get. You get 5 minutes, bro. No, you don't get 10 minutes. No. We went to college together, so we argue like brothers. But seriously, though, they're doing incredible stuff in the public schools out in Indiana, and now it's extending around the world. A student of Jesus, but also of Dr. Martin Luther King, Peter. Come on. So here you go.
All right. So 5 minutes. A friend of mine named Angelo in 2016 was living in Atlanta, and he ended up coming back to Fort Wayne where he grew up because his cousin got shot and killed. And then while he was there, he felt a call of God to kind of come back to Fort Wayne and said, we got to do something about the violence in this community. It's about 250,000 people, not near as much craziness as in Philly, but there's craziness. And so he started a group called Alive Community Outreach, which started support networks for people who lost family members to gun violence. But then as he began to connect with kids, he realized that the violence was on the rise in schools and that people were wilding out in Fort Wayne. And so he found this group in Chicago called the Peace Warriors that actually took Kingian Nonviolence and implemented it in the school system. And they do programs and begin to institutionalize it. So he says, that's what we're going to do. And so they started a program called the Peacemakers where they took 3 weeks, 3-week Peacemaker Academy. And trying to get kids to do Peacemakers isn't that hard if you got money, right? Because we pay them $750 to do Peacemakers. So you're like, hey, you want to do the Peacemaker Club? Well, we could pay you $750. Oh, yeah, I'm a hippie, you know. They love that stuff. And that's how the first round went, you know, is we get people through the door. And then not a lot really happened in the school because what happens is you learn the 6 principles of nonviolence, the 6 steps of nonviolence, and then with the third week is like, how do we implement this into the school? And then after year 1, they brought me in to kind of be the peace advocate. I call myself the sup man. You know, I come in and say, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, and just kind of getting to know the kids. Because here's the thing about Kingian nonviolence. Nonviolence is never the goal. Beloved community is the goal. Nonviolence is a means to that goal. And so, and nonviolence isn't just the absence of violence. It's the presence of justice and beloved community. And beloved community is kicking it with people who are different than yourself. And it's also loving your op or your enemy is what Dr. King said. And so one of the first things I did, I asked him, I said, give me the biggest knucklehead in the school because I'm going to get to know that kid. Because the biggest knuckleheads are also the best leaders. And they said, oh, that's easy. Try Allen. I was like, all right, you want to go ahead and name the dude. And come to find out, this kid had a history of fighting, threw a trash can off the second level of the commons, and they said, this dude. So I went to go look for Try Allen, couldn't find him. He's never in class. He was in the school because he had an ankle monitor on. We knew he was in the school, but couldn't find Try Allen at all. About a week went by. Finally, he found me. He said, hey, I heard you're looking for me. And I said, yeah, bro. I said, I'm starting a peace movement here at the school. I need leaders, and I need somebody like you to help me lead it. He was like, what? You know, like, I got an ankle monitor on. I said, bro, I'll call the ankle monitor people, work it out, and you can come as a peace club. He's like, all right, let's do it. And he started coming. Long story short, he ended up getting off drugs and off fentanyl. He said got off some of the heavy stuff he was on. And he started stopping fights in the school. And then he had this beef with this one kid named Corey. And it was notorious beef. And long story short, we squashed the beef and they reconciled. He loved his op. And what happened was, and when they loved his op, the administration was like, holy crap, how did you do that? And I was like, man, we just gave him opportunities to listen and to learn and to talk and to communicate. And the beef room was started. And so kids, they started feeding me people that had a conflict in the schools to squash the beef, right? And then before you know it, and my friend Angelo, he said, man, we would love to be in all 5 public high schools with the Peace Club and the peace movement in 10 years. It took 1.5 years. They passed a referendum, and now the schools and the city pays for us to be in all 5 schools. And we're finding that the peace movement is giving people opportunity, not just to end violence, but to build beloved community. And you're going to learn some more about that tomorrow in the thing I do. But we're finding that peace with the building beloved community in the Peace Club, what's happened is a lot of our kids are jacked up because they don't know how to communicate. It's on the phone. But one of the things is the power of the peace circle is when we're in there and people begin to communicate face to face and they realize, man, this is good. And the beloved community is something that's attractive and it's pulling a lot of people in. Am I in 5?
No, come on, bro. Thanks, man. And we knew in 5 minutes, that's 4 minutes and 30 seconds, by the way. But we've learned from Bishop Barber, too. You know, he just starts getting up a little closer to you. And then when you're going a little long, he puts your hand on you, act like he's praying for you. And then so I'll do that if I have to. But no, it's great. And we knew that he couldn't go through the 6 principles. So they're going to do that tomorrow, the 6 principles of Kingian nonviolence. Dr. King's core philosophy. We're going to hear about it tomorrow. We can unpack it. But it's also on cards, on the tables. There's a few books that we have that go in it. These guys, Steve and these guys have old classes on it. So, you know, if that's new to you, the idea of like principled nonviolence and that Dr. King wasn't just a leader, but had like really, you know, kind of building blocks for his philosophy. Keep leaning into that. So we'll hear more about it.